Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It is Nicole here. Today's video is going to be very casual. As you can see, I am in my robe and my cookie crown, as my husband likes to call it. Today's going to be a really casual video. I'm going to get ready and I'm going to talk about my experience with my birth class I went to. I'm simultaneously filming my second trimester recap. And in that, I thought that I could maybe get footage of the birth class, but it was not appropriate setting to film at all. I didn't want to do that, and I really wanted to be in the moment. I took a lot of notes, and so I just wanted to do a little informal get ready, and I'm going to talk to you about birth class and what that looked like and all the little things I learned. Hopefully it will help you if you are also pregnant. Let's get into it. Alright, so I had to reposition, get some good lighting. I'll be looking down a lot because I got my mirror here and I'm going to be getting ready. I also want to start off by saying I switched my makeup recently to be a clean makeup. It's very important when you're pregnant to limit toxins. Even when you're not pregnant, it is very important to go through your cleaning products, your hygiene products, your beauty routine, and you want to make sure that you are limiting your toxin exposure. And especially when you're pregnant, that all is floating around in your body and can be harming your baby. So I switched all my makeup, and I was really nervous about this because it's kind of hard to find makeup that works with my skin. It is very sensitive. So it's always nerve-wracking switching products, but I found this brand called Merit Beauty, and they are super duper clean and it's very easy. I wanted to get something that was in a stick form, and all of their products are just in an easy stick. And you'll see as I'm going along here, but it's all super low rating. If you haven't heard of EWG, you can get this app and it will tell you the rating for how toxic it is, and it is all very low. It was 1s and 2s, which is very low. So if you are looking to switch, I'll list all the stuff in the description below of what I'm using, just so you could check it out. But I love it. I think it works great and it makes my skin look really good. And it doesn't break me out, so that's great. And it came with this cute little bag, so that's plus. All right, so let's get into it. I just want to preface this by saying this is my first birth, first time being pregnant. So I don't really have any context to what is normal and what is not normal. If you're just planning to give birth at a hospital, I don't know if a birth class like I attended is something that you have to seek out individually, or if a hospital connects you at all with that information. I have no idea. To give you an idea, and maybe you can look for something like this in your area, I'm currently in Scottsdale, Arizona. I live in North Scottsdale, and the place I go is called Womb Keepers, and it's an integrative clinic. And I personally love that. I am more holistic, crunchy, I'd say, in most things in my life. I avoid medication at all costs. I'm very into herbs and stuff, which you have to be extremely careful with when you're pregnant. But this place I go to, I see a doctor there. I see an OB, but they also have a midwife and they have doulas. They have a birth center there that you can have your baby at, but I opted to have my baby in the hospital. And even though I'm doing a hospital birth, I'll still have doulas, and I'll be either delivered, because they're on call, I'll either be delivered by the doctor or the midwife, but I've met them both. And then I'll have a doula with me as well to assist. So I like it. It's the best of both worlds. I'm using my insurance for visits, and I'll use my insurance for the giving birth part at the hospital. But then there was I guess it's kind of almost a concierge fee. That fee covers the doula, covers the birth class, covers a lot of support stuff. They have prenatal yoga classes you can attend. They have a lot of information like the Meet the Doula nights. And it just gives you a little more access to support and care. I have the doctor's number, I have the doula's number. Things come up, I can reach out to them. It just gives you an extra level of care, and that was really important to me, especially this first time around, just because I want to feel really supported. I didn't want to feel scared. Being pregnant, and especially towards the end, throughout the whole pregnancy, it's important to manage your stress, but especially towards the end for a smoother labor, it's really important you feel well taken care of and supported and safe, because your body is going to have a hard time laboring if it is in fight or flight and doesn't feel safe. It's actually something that they talked about in the birth class, which I really liked. They were saying basically at the end of the day, we are animals. And what do animals do when they're getting ready to have birth? They're hunkering down, they're going in their den, they're making their nest, they're creating a space where they can quote unquote hide and feel safe and create their own little bubble of safety so their body can then relax and have the baby. And that's what we have to do. So with natural birth and all of that, natural birth is very important to me. But what made me feel safest, the space that I feel the safest, is at the hospital, just so I know I don't have to go anywhere if anything does happen or intervention is needed. I'm already there, and just that creates a sense of safety for me. So just if you're pregnant and you're trying to figure out which way you want to go, you really need to start thinking about it in those terms. What is gonna give me the biggest sense of safety, and go with your gut on that. Do your research on hospitals, do your research on midwives, because you even have to be very careful about choosing a midwife depending on the state. Some places like here in Arizona, they don't really regulate the whole midwife scene a lot. So you want to really do your research. I'm super, like I said, into doing everything natural as possible, and I wanted to use a midwife, but you want to make sure the places have good ratings, and there could be some horror stories around them not doing their jobs properly or being a little too reckless, which is why I think it is best to do in the middle. So with that all said, I just wanted to let you know that, because I'm not really sure what this all would look like if I just decided to pair up with the doctor and deliver at the hospital and not have any of this extra support. I would assume, I know a lot of people, if you just decide to give birth at the hospital and you have a doctor, people will pay separate for a doula. And so I'm assuming that would be the same with a birth class. You would have to seek out, I guess it would be called birth class. This one in particular, at the place I went to, they were technically different topics, and they do it all in one weekend. So it was like a baby boot camp type deal. And me and my husband have been going through some things. He went through a transition with his work, and it was really stressful. He worked in a car dealership, and if anyone knows about that environment, it's very crazy and toxic, and it consumes your life. And I had to really press into my faith and just know God has us and has a bigger plan. And I'll say, after the whole fear around the money part, it ended up being such a blessing, because my husband got to go with me for the whole entire weekend, which would have never happened in his job prior. And so my husband was there, and that I could cry thinking about it, because I just felt so supported, and it made me feel comfortable and confident that he was hearing the information too. Because it's kind of hard when you're one person and you're the one going through it, and you're absorbing all of this new information, taking it all in. It's so nice. And so if you have that person in your life, bring them, because it's nice to have the second pair of ears to take everything in case you miss anything. And also that way you can go through it and talk through it, everything together, because there was a lot of learning. And it left me with a lot of question marks of things I need to research that further so I can make a better decision for myself. That's how I am. I want to know both sides. I want to know the pros and cons, and I want to make the best informed decision possible. And that's what I really appreciated about this class is like their number one goal is to get you to have the most natural birth as possible, just because people going there, that's their goal. But they also talk about the hard stuff that you might not want to hear, interventions and C-sections and medications and things like that. But they're telling you so in case intervention is needed, you have the knowledge around what options are around those things so you can make the best decision for you and your baby. So it was such a blessing to have my husband there. And in the class, they did a lot of teaching to the husbands about how they can best support us. I will have a doula, which they help you with the positioning and if they need to push on your back or bring you comfort, things like that. But it was really nice because they taught the husbands how to support us, how to comfort us and touch us, and what kind of touch feels good to someone who's laboring, where to press on their back, how to help them while we're going through our breathing, how to hold us. So it was so awesome, and I felt so blessed that my husband could be there. It makes such a difference to have someone who supports you like that. And so I'll say this too, if you're going through it right now, just know everything happens for a reason. I was freaking out about this job transition because I was like, really, this is all happening right now while I'm pregnant? But God had a bigger plan, because even though the money thing is kind of crazy right now, I have to say, and he made really good money at this place, I have to say, even though the money isn't coming in, I told my husband this and he started crying. I feel more supported than I've ever have by my husband, because he hasn't had to be so consumed with work. Like he's not in fight or flight. He is more calm and present. He has more time, so he's helping a lot more at home with things that I typically would do because he was gone all the time. His cup is just more full, and it's allowing him to really be here with me and present and calm and collected and supportive. And so God knew what he was doing. I just really had to lean in and trust him, and it's played out so nice. So that's been a big thing. I'll just kind of go with how it got broken down. So it actually started Friday night. We went in and we learned how to breathe. And technically, I think the techniques that they pulled from was from hypnobirthing, but they were saying they don't really like calling it that because some people get freaked out. They think that they're going to be hypnotized or something. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't really know what hypnobirthing was either. It does sound like they're hypnotizing you, but it's really about a mindset and, sorry, I'm out of breath. It's really about prepping your mind. And so I really like this point that they made about how labor is, you're getting ready for a marathon. And yes, you have a lot of discomfort, but you have to prep your mind for it. And I'm all about that, just in anything in life, about reframing things to take your power back around whatever it is you're going through. And I don't see labor any different. I prayed for this moment, and so I'm not going to go into it with fear. I am a realist. That's why I prepare. That's why I educate myself. That's why I learn about all the things so I can make informed choices. I'm not naive to that. But what I'm saying is I'm not going to go in afraid, intense, and fearful, because I've been praying for this, and I know that billions of women before me have given birth, and it's been good and beautiful. And I know that the more that we cling on and we tense, it can actually hinder our journey and what might come. So we learned the breathing part, which was really nice. Breathing in a certain way. And if you've done yoga, you'll be familiar with this. It was kind of like the Ujjayi breath. It's where you fill up with your belly, and what we learned is when you fill up with your belly, you can feel it probably even if you're not pregnant, but when you fill the air up with your belly, it kind of compresses down. So you're actually, just by taking in that deep breath, you're pushing the baby down with that air. And so not only are you aiding in the baby moving down, you're also stabilizing your heart rate, and it's helping with your mental part and making you feel calm and more relaxed. Not to say that gets rid of any discomfort you might be feeling with contractions, but it aids in it. And let's see what else. Oh, and I like this too. So they have the little triangle. Actually, I have my notes here. I'm gonna look at it. So it's called FTP, and it's a little triangle, so they all feed into each other. So FTP is fear, tense, pain. So the more fear you have, the more your body will tense up, and the more your body is tense, the more pain that you experience. And then that leads into another FTP, which is failure to progress. So that's part of the breathing thing, and the mental thing is like, yes, you're gonna have discomfort, but you can really learn how to set up your mind and breathing techniques to where you are working with the flow of the contraction to ride the wave. Rather than tensing up your body, your baby isn't gonna start moving down because you're tense and you're holding, rather than filling up with that air and getting that baby to move down. So it's just very important for the progression of your labor, because you hear people who have very long labors, and that could be from all sorts of things like bad positioning of the baby and all those things. But if everything else is aligned, you don't want to prolong your labor any more than it needs to. So to get your mind and breathing right is a huge thing. The next day was an all-day thing. It was all about labor prep. So we started off and we talked about what to bring in your bag. They told us what the doula will bring for us, showed us all the props and stuff, which I thought was really cool because I've been doing my own research and watching all these YouTube videos about that, what to bring, because I really want, they said about setting up the safety feeling. You can set up your hospital room to make you feel as safe as possible. So even if you're not doing all this, I had to get a glass of water because I think I choked on my spit. So even if you're not doing this whole doula thing, just so you have choice. You can make choices too, and this is your show. You can tell them what you want. So you can set up your hospital room to be as cozy as you want, and that's what I'm going for. So I'm gonna dim the lights, I'm gonna bring ambient lighting, I'm gonna bring fluffy blankets, I'm gonna bring extra pillows. And so I really like this. So what I was saying is, prior to this class, I was doing all this research of how I'm gonna set up the room. I didn't realize until this class, when they told us that the doulas are actually gonna bring a lot of this stuff. So they're telling us what the doula is gonna pack, so then we know what else to bring, which is really nice, because I was like, oh great, then I won't have to buy as much as I thought I was gonna have to buy. So doula brings little, obviously, fake candles, they dim the lights, they bring massage tools for comfort. And so I like that, because then they give us a list and then I can fill in the gaps to make myself feel as comfortable as possible. And then they just give us more information about what they suggest to bring, and they had a lot of good ideas. Gosh, I'm sorry. I think the way I'm sitting right now, and I ate, out of breath and struggling. Let's see. They recommended a sleep mask, which I did hear in some videos that I've already watched. And I thought this was so cool. So oxytocin is what helps start your labor. That's the hormone that starts getting produced to signal to your body it's time to have a baby. And so that's why they recommend turning down the lights in your room and making it as dark as possible while you're laboring. But if you add the eye mask, you cut out the light completely. When you cut out the light, your body starts making more melatonin, and melatonin is the precursor to oxytocin. So if you're not pregnant, that's just a good thing to know too about sleep. I wear an eye mask to sleep. It is so important to cut out all that light. And even in the nighttime, dim your lights as much as possible. Don't have it super bright at night, because that's what starts prepping your brain and saying, oh, it's nighttime, it's time to sleep. And you actually sleep better. And it's better for your mental health when you sleep better. So I thought that was awesome. They said, bring a eye mask for laboring. They actually gave us one, which was really nice. One of the suggestions was to invest in adult diapers sooner than you think. And I'm blessed. I have a friend who just had a baby, and so she's like, she knows, and she gave me some adult diapers as a gift. Well, she gave me more stuff, but she gave me adult diapers at my shower, and I appreciate that, because they were saying there's a lot of leaking when labor kicks in, and even in early labor. And so they were saying that you might even want to wear an early labor before you make your way to the hospital, because a lot of the time women think it's like this movie scene, water breaking, gushing. That's actually kind of rare to happen. Usually what happens is it is a slow leak, and it's almost like you're peeing yourself. It's just a slow, constant trickle. And so they recommended to buy adult diapers, because you might have a lot of fluids happening in early pre-labor. So definitely gonna do that and then pack those up. They recommended the fan. You just kind of be prepared, because during labor you can go through episodes of being cold and episodes of being hot. So you wanna have a fan, you wanna have a robe, you wanna have grippy socks. I'm gonna find this on Amazon because I want to buy it, but she had this fuzzy, cozy heating pad. So she said sometimes you'll get really cold, and so I want to get a heating pad and bring it, but this was so cute. It was like a fuzzy one. It looks so cozy. Massage tools. They recommended a knee pad, what you would get like when you're gardening, little cushion, because when you're laboring, a lot of the time, women tend to go down on all fours on their knees, because that's a comfortable position. So sometimes you do a lot of knee stuff, or you just might be trying to do positions to get the baby engaged and in the right position. So having the knee pads will save your knees so you're not on a hard floor. Aromatherapy, I'm definitely gonna bring my diffuser and have some aromatherapy going on. I'm gonna bring my speaker. I'm actually gonna start creating my birthing playlist. I want it to be positive and relaxing and have Christian music on there, just to get my mind right. Looking at it here. Oh, I made the video all about the laboring gown. I'm gonna bring my laboring gown, a robe. They said it's important to have grippy socks, so maybe I can find some fuzzy grippy socks. And so it was really about preparation, and I really love that, because I'm gonna use that information to make my list of what I need to bring, start thinking about that. And then with the preparation, they showed the props that the doulas bring, a yoga ball. They have this birthing stool, which is awesome. It's the way it is like, so you could get low and almost be in a squat, but not have to hold your own body weight while squatting. So your legs are spread and you're down close to the ground, and it's got this curve, so your GG's out, but you can like hold on to it. You can really just position your body in a more comfortable way than if you had nothing and you were just squatting down. They had all sorts of stuff. They had like peanut ball, so you can lay on your side and get your leg up. It's just to help move your body where you're more comfortable, and also to engage the baby, because as you're having your contractions, the baby is making its way down. So you want to make sure that it's in the most optimal position, and then it engages correctly down into your pelvis. So we learned all about that. That was day 2. And then day 3 was with the doctor herself, and she got into the nitty-gritty of all the medical stuff, which I really liked. So she went over what to expect, what early labor symptoms look like versus active labor, and told us at what point do you reach out to her, at what point do you start making your way to the hospital, and what you could do at home. And this is also why I appreciate having a doula, because when you are in early labor, I can reach out to my doula, and even though I'm not at the hospital with her at the moment, that's what they're there for, is guiding you and telling you what to do while at home. Because a lot of the time women go to the hospital too early and then they get sent back home because they're not actually dilated and they're not in active labor. And so that happens a lot with your first birth because you don't really know what to expect. You're like, well, something's happening. But sometimes you might have labor symptoms and things going on even 2 weeks before active labor. So I recommend, if you're not going with a natural midwife type situation, at least look into getting a doula, because I think that is really helpful. Especially as a first time mom, you just feel more safe and supported. And then, so just like what to expect, what contractions look like, how long they last. She had a really awesome diagram of how the flow of them. And then we got into the nitty gritty of all the intervention stuff and what that could look like and what your options are and what they prefer. And I like them because everything like that they really try to go for is a middle ground of stuff. They want to be cautious, but they also don't want to like jump the gun on C-sections, and they do want it to be as natural as possible. I learned something really interesting about Pitocin. So Pitocin is the synthetic version that activates oxytocin. And so I personally want to avoid this at all costs, because when you're introducing the synthetic version of oxytocin in your body, it actually hinders the way your body naturally makes it. And oxytocin not only is important for labor, but it also is the hormone that activates and creates literally change in our brain to bond with our baby, and also has an effect with breastfeeding. So if your body is being hindered to naturally produce oxytocin, they are finding that it can potentially harm the bonding between you and your baby. And then also could potentially make it harder for breastfeeding. So I want to try to avoid that as much as possible. I thought that was really interesting. And then we learned about all the nitty gritty about when they might introduce antibiotics, about all the vitamin K shot, the eye ointment. And so all of it was very just educational. It wasn't to say, hey, we want you to do this. Here is what's going to be presented. Here are the stats on it. Here's what we recommend. Here are the two extremes. Here is the middle. And it was really just about all the information so you can make an informed decision. And so all of that was taught so you could create a birth plan. I'm glad I did this class a little earlier, not so close to birth, because no, it's not January. It's November. And I'm having my baby hopefully in February. And it was so much to learn, but so worth it, because there's a lot. And it was funny because I was the only one taking notes. I was shocked, but maybe it's just, I don't know. I'm such a geek about nutrition. So everything that she was like teaching us about oxytocin and all that stuff was like so interesting to me. And this is how I remember stuff, but I was like, taking notes. And no other mom was. No judgments, but like, I was just surprised. I'm like, would you guys want to write this stuff down? It's important. And majority of them were first-time moms. I think there was only one person who was on their second baby. But I liked it because as I was going through, I would notate certain things and like, research further. And then it helped me start creating my birth plan and what I want for myself. There were just things that I had never really heard about or thought about. And also it gave me a more realistic perspective in the sense of natural birth is my number one goal, but like, if we have to have intervention, what are my choices around that? What do I want even around my C-section? Do I want my husband there? You have to still be very specific in your birth plan, because it's like, I want to do natural and I want them to hand me my baby right away. I want to have skin to skin contact right away. I don't want them to wipe the, I forget what it's called, Versix? I don't know. There's this goo that's on your baby And usually they wipe them all off and take them away and then give you your baby. I don't want that. Give me the gooey baby, put it on my body, and I want that right away. So just even with knowing if you have a C-section, want the same, like want skin to skin contact right away, even if I do the C-section. So stuff like that, it just got me thinking, you know, things that I hadn't before, and I really appreciated that. Yeah, highly recommend classes. You might not think that you need it. You might think, like, I've been watching all of these videos. Like, there is so much out in the world that you can get for free, that you can learn. But to be like in that setting, especially, I think what's really valuable is to be surrounded by a ton of other women who are right there with you, pregnant. You can talk to them. You could be like, are you experiencing this? What are your thoughts on that? Like, it's just so important to be in actual community with people. We've gotten away from that. I feel like COVID has just like jacked that up for us, and we're not used to it anymore. But you need support as a human, no matter what stage of life you're on, in whatever. Like, you need that. That's a part of how we thrive as humans, and a part of like our health is having community. So I would highly suggest it. It's just so valuable. I got way more out of it than I did ever watching any videos on YouTube. It just puts everything together. And it's really nice that, like, you're watching a video, you can't ask the video a question. Like, in the moment you're learning, and if you're like, oh, I don't quite understand that, like, you can ask that person a question and get that instant feedback. So that was really nice. And create that community around you, find that support system, and how whatever that looks like, because being pregnant is really hard, and it could be isolating if you let it be. Typically, you might be the only one pregnant in your group. You know, if you put yourself in a room of women that are also pregnant, like, you just don't feel alone. You feel and people know what you're going through, and it just feels nice to be seen in that way. So yeah, I suggest it. If you guys have any questions, I think I covered most of what we learned, and if there's anything that you want to know more in depth about, because I could probably make a lot of videos, the specific topics that they went through, but that would be a lot. So if there's anything in particular you guys want to hear about, like, I can maybe make extra videos of specific topics. So you let me know if there's anything. But I hope this gave you a lot of insight. Also, just encourage you to, in that community, wherever you are, whatever that looks like, plug into what it makes you feel good. Because I will say too, when you're pregnant, like, there's so much change. And sometimes it's hard because your brain is so consumed with trying to keep up with all the change and just thinking about the future and what that's going to look like. So plug yourself into things that make you feel like you. Me, that's like doing my dance. I always feel like my old self when I do dance. I feel like my old self when I'm with my girlfriends and we're going to brunch. Things that bring you joy, and plug yourself into that, because what you feel, the baby feels, and it's all about calming the nervous system and as much stress as possible. And stress goes down when you feel supported. So I'll leave you with that, because this is a little bit of a longer video, I feel like. Love you guys. I hope that you're having a good week, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.